Hello and welcome to my patch 5.4 survival hunter guide. Now there's been a few changes with hunters actually, some of them are pretty significant and there's a few that definitely impact survival. However, really, if you are good in 5.3 you'll probably still be good in 5.4. Anyway, in this video I'll do a full guide, so we'll have class changes, talents, gems, enchants, rotation, add-ons, that kind of thing. Basically, the whole shebang. Now, let's get into it. So, changes. Readiness is gone and many of the core abilities have been buffed. Here's a list of the different things. Explosive Shot's damage has been increased by 25%. Explosive Trap has had a 30% damage decrease. However, it's not all bad news. Explosive Trap no longer shares a cooldown with Black Arrow, but can no longer activate Lock and Load. This means that you can use Explosive Trap absolutely independently of the Lock and Load mechanic. What this means is that in an AoE situation you can use you can use Explosive Trap as a regular part of your AoE rotation and it won't hurt you in the slightest, which is pretty fantastic. The next thing is that Arcane Shot does 125% ranged weapon damage, up from 100% ranged weapon damage, and costs 50% more focus. Also, a Murder of Crows has had a 40% increased damage, Link's Rush has been increased by 30% in terms of damage, and we have a new shot called Counter Shot which replaces Silencing Shot. Also in patch 5.3, Stampede nerf has been reversed in PvE, so we no longer have that horrible 75% damage reduction. Overall, it's pretty good news, and I think comparatively we should do a little bit better. Survival and Beast Mastery are going to be roughly the same, with Beast Mastery having the edge in single target, and Survival having the edge in pretty much anything that's multiple targets. That's at least what it's shaping up to be based on PTR information. Obviously, in live we get a lot more data to play with. Now let's talk about talents. These are kind of interesting. So tier 1, whatever you want, either Post Haste if you need lots of movement, or Crouching Tiger, Hidden Chimera based on the fight. I should probably add also the cooldowns for Disengage is now 5 seconds less, and Deterrence has got a 3-minute cooldown, but it also has 2 charges, just to throw that in there. Now, the tier 2 talents, there's no DPS here, so it's really whatever works best for you. Honestly, now that Silencing Shot's not a part of this tier, none of the shots here are really that useful to you in a raid scenario. For tier 3, Ironhawk is probably still the go-to choice. It doesn't require any thought and your healers will love you for it. Now for tier 4, this is the interesting tier. Dire Beast and Thrill remain quite close in terms of simulated results, with Dire Beast having a slight edge. I'd recommend Dire Beasts as opposed to Thrill though, because Thrill has a tendency of messing up your focus, since it will make your next 3 arcane shots cost 10 focus instead of 30. It still costs 10, unlike previously where it would have been 3. Now another issue is this also leads to global cooldown bloat, where you will have lots of these kind of basically useless procs, because your global cooldowns are better spent doing other things. Arcane Shot's nice, but it's really only a filler, and this risks you using your filler shot too much. There's times when, you know, you'll still have plenty of Thrill up, but you should be using Black Arrow, Explosive Shot, that kind of thing. Now, the one thing is that this may come into play with the Hunter tier 16 4-piece bonus. Honestly, we need more data, but for now I'm going to say just roll with Dire Beast, you'll be fine. Both of them are very close. Simulated results are currently about within like 1% of each other, so probably all just comes down to RNG. I know simulated results are only so useful, but between that and actual like raid scenario testing that I've seen other hunters do and Elitist Jerks forums, this seems to be the best way to go. Now for tier 5, despite the Link's Rush buff, a Murder of Crows is still the best based on the current data, and you need to be sure just to have 100%, like as much uptime as you can possibly get in that to make sure that it is the best. Now for tier 6, Glaive Toss is also still the best. Now Glyphs are largely unaffected, so for major Glyphs you want to go with Animal Bond, which increases your healing taken by 10%, and then you want to go with Glyph of Deterrence, which will increase the damage reduction of your Deterrence by, up to 50%, which is an increase of 20% reduction. It's really nice. If there's a big damage phase coming, you can just pop Deterrence, and even if it doesn't reflect the damage, it will still save you half the damage, which your healers will love in some of those really heavy raid scenarios. Now, raid damage scenarios. After this, the Glyphs are really yet less useful. You could go for, say, Glyph of Liberation. This gives you a 5% heal when you disengage. Honestly, they're not particularly great. As for minor Glyphs, Glyph of Revive Pet removes the pushback effect while you're casting Revive. If your pet does go down, then this is very handy. None of the other minor Glyphs are at all relevant. As far as like gems, enchants, and reforge go, the best thing to do is just go on to Ask Mr. Robot, plug in your character, hit the optimize button, and do what it tells you. I could spend 7 minutes of this guide showing you screenshots and stuff like that, but honestly, just go there and it will calculate mathematically what is the best thing to do for your character. And it's personalized to you. It really is the best. Now, next up we have the rotation, and this is actually, it's pretty easy if I'm honest. Like, it's not hard. Once you get the opener down, you should be good. So, onto the opener. As always, you want to pre-pop before the fight, and then you want to do Rapid Fire, Stampede, Serpent Sting, Black Arrow, a Murder of Crows, Glaive Toss, Dire Beast, and then finally Rabid. As for like the video footage in the background, I should have done it perfectly if like past self was good, but this is the one hunter spec, well, other than marksmanship, which nobody seems to play, that I'm out of like training with. I'm mainly beast mastery, but I did main survival quite a while. Anyway, that is what the proper opener is, so no matter what I do in the video, just listen to that. Now, the normal rotation, so you want to keep Serpent Sting applied using Cobra Shot, obviously. You want to use Explosive Shot on cooldown, and if you get a lock and load proc, just spam Explosive Shot because the durations of the dots will add up. That was a change made in Mists of Pandaria. As for Black Arrow, you want to use that on your primary target on cooldown to ensure you get plenty of lock and loads and also the nice damage. You want to use Glaive Toss on cooldown, and if possible, you want to line up so your glaives will travel through as many mobs as possible on their way to the boss and back to you. Arcane Shot is a filler ability, so you want to use that when you have nothing else to use. You need to be very careful that you don't spam it. You always want to have enough focus to be able to cast any of your signature shots. So, as an example, Explosive Shot is 25 focus, and Black Arrow is 35 focus. You always want to be able to cast them on cooldown. Also, you want to use Glaive Toss on cooldown, and the same goes with a Murder of Crows. Since a Murder of Crows has got a pretty hefty focus cost of 60, you may want to, a few seconds before that, try to build up a little bit of focus using Cobra Shot so that you can apply it immediately. As for your cooldowns, it's pretty simple. You just want to use Dire Beast on cooldown and Rapid Fire on cooldown. As for your potion usage, for the second potion that you have during the fight, ideally, if you can get an execute phase, or perhaps you get lucky with all your trinket procs, you just want to use it then, and especially when you can either have Rapid Fire on or a Heroism / Bloodlust. Now, in AoE situations, it's actually quite simple. You want to replace Arcane Shot with Multi-Shot as your focus stump, and you want to use Explosive Trap on cooldown. And that's really it for the general combat. It's not a massively hard spec to play, it's pretty fun, and it's quite strong in AoE. Now let's move on to some macros that I found to be very helpful. So the first one is, it's a basic opener macro. If you're not on cooldown, it will use your potion. Sorry, not on cooldown. If you're not in combat, it will use your potion, it will use dive, and it will use dash on your pet. This means that your pet has its speed buff ready, so it can get into the action quick, and you've already pre-potted. Usually, you just want to use this. The first time you want to use this is on your, like, when you say your pull timer hits 2 or 1. Then, if it's in combat and you hit this button, it will do Stampede and Rabid and Rapid Fire. It's a very handy macro, and it really does simplify the opener. Now, the other macro that's handy is having a tank misdirection one. It's just pretty simple. And finally, a cancel aura macro, and that is it for this video. It's hopefully this will give you all the tools you need to be ready for the 5.4 version of the Survival Hunter. Now, if you want any like in-depth videos, I have a full video of Hunter changes, every single one of them on the channel. And also, if you look back a few months, I have a series of mod videos which you should find quite useful. I do plan on doing a full Hunter mod video in the future though. But for now, that is it for me. Thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.